Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video I'm going to be reviewing the second part of the Pat McGrath holiday collection. I have both of the eyeshadow quads here to review, the highlighter and one of the cheek trios, and I am super excited to show you everything and tell you exactly how everything worked and what I think about all of the products and whether or not they are worth it. I have a lot of opinions about everything that I tried today, so let's just go ahead and get started. Look who finally decided to show up at my doorstep today. The second part of my Pat McGrath holiday collection haul. These were ordered a little bit over 2 weeks ago and they finally arrived. I don't even want to talk about why that took so long. Let's just go ahead and get into actually trying these products, which I am super excited about. And let me tell you guys what I got. I got both options on the holiday quads. I got the lighter trio of blushes and a highlighter. And I got that super expensive single highlighter that she launched as well. Here's the Skin Fetish Sublime Skin Highlighter in Lunar Nude with the beautiful embossing in the center. And here's what that swatch looks like on the back of my hand. I feel like it might make my cheeks look a little darker from the sides, but we will see. It does have a really beautiful shine to it. The price of this highlighter was $60. I also got the Divine Blush and Glow Trio in the color Galactic Sun. The colors are from left to right, Divine Rose, Desert Orchid, and the highlighter's name is Golden Nectar. The blushes have the same embossing as the single blushes, but here is the size difference for reference. The blush trio has a net weight of 10.5 grams, and that's divided amongst the 3 pans, and the single blushes have a net weight of 9.7 grams, so you approximately get a little bit over a third of the product in each one of these pans here. And that's assuming that the blushes and the highlighters weigh the same amount, which I don't know because it wasn't specified. The shades of the products that come in this little palette are existing shades. She does have singles of the Divine Rose blush, the Desert Orchid blush, and she also has the Golden Nectar highlighter already. I do have the single of the Golden Nectar highlighter, but the 2 shades of blush that come in this palette, Divine Rose and Desert Orchid, are both shades that I decided to skip when the blushes first launched. I got 3 blushes and they are different colors, so I think I got lucky this time that I didn't already have the blush colors at least, and that makes me happy. Okay, and here are the swatches of the shades in the palette, the 2 blushes and the highlighter shade. There is a second blush trio that has blush shades Lovestock and Paradise Venus, and the highlighter in the shade Venus Nectar. On the Pat McGrath website, you can get both blush trios in a bundle for $88, or you can buy a single one, which is what I did, for $52. And of course, as per usual, I'm going to have all of these products linked down below in the description box, so definitely check that out. Okay, let's get into these quads. I just opened it for the first time. What? How much did I pay for this? The quads were $54, which is the usual price for the quads, right? I was a little bit confused, but still, I knew that all of the quads traditionally have been $50-something. The rest of the quads are $58, and these quads are $54. So there is a $4 price difference between the quads, but there is a huge size difference, which I was not expecting and I had no idea about. Let me go ahead and grab some of my other quads so that I can show you. This right here is my new Celestial Odyssey Luxe Quad in the color Bronze Borealis. Again, the retail price for these is $54. And this one next to it is my Venus in Flare Luxe Quad in Voyeuristic Vixen. Now here's what I find truly interesting. The price is actually justified because this has a total weight of 4.4 grams, 0.15 ounces, and this has a total weight of 4.9 grams or 0.17 ounces. So there truly isn't that much difference in the price or the actual amount of product that you get on your eyeshadow quads. But even though it has a similar amount of product in there, the size of the pans drastically changed, and I was not expecting that. I was so shocked when I opened this one. I was like, did I just get ripped off? No, I didn't. So price versus weight, everything is right, but the pan sizes are a lot smaller, which I wasn't expecting, and I don't know, I think these look a little bit more impressive. Okay, here are the swatches of my bronze Borealis quad. Really nice and shiny and glowy and shimmery and buttery, which is totally to be expected from Ms. Pat Mcgrath. And here is my Celestial Odyssey Luxe Quad in the color Deep Space Divinity, which again, smaller pan sizes. This one reminds me a lot of one of the quads from last year's holiday collection, and so I brought it down to compare them later on in the video, but for now, let's go ahead and swatch this one. Okay, here are the swatches of my Deep Space Divinity quad right here, which now that I swatched it, it doesn't remind me as much of that palette from last year because the colors do look pretty different once they are swatched. I can't wait to play with that dual chrome shade. Woo! I'm excited. Here it is next to the one that I was thinking of from last year, but again, we will do swatch comparisons later. Okay, so let's go ahead and try everything. Since these are new blush colors for me, I'm going to go ahead and try them both. I don't have bronzer on because I wanted to try them on their own, but I will be adding bronzer later. Let me go ahead and try Divine Rose first, which, knowing me, I don't know why I didn't pick this one up the first time because it looks like a blush that I would totally love. Blush without bronzer looks so weird to me, but I did want to be able to just look at the shade on its own. Okay, so that's the first one. And here is Desert Orchid. I do really like Pat's blush formulas. I like that they're glowy but not shimmery, and that they don't enhance any texture on the face. This one's a little glowier than this one for sure. Okay, so that's what we're looking like on this side right here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of bronzer and I will be right back. I wish I had a Pat Mcgrath bronzer to put on, but maybe sometime next year. I'm back. I went ahead and applied bronzer, and this is what the blushes look like with bronzer on. I really like them both, but I'm surprised that I like Desert Orchid more than I like the Divine Rose. I feel like I was all about the mauvey pinky blushes a few years back, but now I actually like them to have a little bit of warmth in them. So this one's really nice. I'm going to attempt to make myself even by combining both of them. Okay, and here's what they look like combined in case you're curious. Let's go ahead and go on with the palettes next. I'm going to do one on each eye. Let's start with the color Mink. This is super powdery. Let's start with the color Mink Dust from the Bronze Borealis palette. And I noticed that this shade is super powdery, which I never expect from Pat Mcgrath. So that's interesting. This palette was made... Where were you made? I don't know if I mentioned it, but the single highlighter, which I just remembered and we need to try after the eye looks, and the cheek trio were both made in Italy, while the eyeshadow quads are made in the USA of US and imported ingredients. Immediately I noticed that this matte shade, it's more powdery than I've ever seen a Pat Mcgrath matte shade be. If you bought this quad and you've experienced other Pat Mcgrath eyeshadows, let me know your thoughts below. And it's also not blending as easily as they usually do. What is going on here? I was using a Rephr number 16 brush, which I like, but it is a little bit more pointed. So in order to really tell, I'm going to switch to my Rephr number 15, which I just cleaned. And I'm going to try this again. So that's that same color. And I'm going to blend it on my crease and do little circles around the crease area. Okay, maybe it was the brush that I was using, although I'm still undecided, because usually I'm fine with the Rephr number 16, although I don't love it as much as the Rephr number 15. Okay, that actually ended up blending out nicely. So maybe it was the more pointed brush versus this one, which is more flat on the top, which helps me blend things out even better. With my Rephr number 2, I'm going to go into this shade here, which is the lightest one of the shimmers. I don't know, I feel like the quads feel a lot more powdery than they usually are. I don't think I ever have to like tap off a lot of excess from Pat McGrath shadows. Switching to the other side of my brush. And this shade here seems creamier, more of what I'm used to. And so we're going to put it right through the center. And now I'm going to go into the third shade right here, which is more of like a bronzy color. And I'm going to put it on the other third of my eyelid. Back with the Rephr number 1 and this shade here, which again, very powdery. And I'm just going to run my Rephr number 1 through my crease to darken things up a little bit more. One thing is clear, this quad, not cry worthy. Okay, so this right here is the top of my look. I really wish that these two colors weren't as close as they are to one another. Like this seems a little lighter, this is a little darker, but there really isn't a huge difference. And this is a quad, so while I love the colors to work with one another, I want to see as much variety as I can, you know? So let me go ahead and do the under eye with the Rephr number 1. I'm going back. Look at how powdery that matte shade is. See how it's like falling all over it? Anyways, I'm going to go back to this one and I'm going to just diffuse it underneath my eye. Back and forth with the tip of my Rephr number 1 brush. One thing to note is that I know I've been complaining about how powdery the shades are, but there really hasn't been much fallout on my skin, which is definitely a huge plus. And back with the lighter golden shade right here, I'm just going to intensify my inner corner here. Okay, so that's the first look right there. Let's move on to Deep Space Divinity, and back with my Rephr number 15, which I just cleaned. I'm going to grab the matte shade first again, and I'm going to blend that color on my crease, which first of all, it packs a heck of a punch. You can see it right there. Second of all, it's not nearly powdery at all. It's not powdery like the matte from the previous palette, which I was complaining about. I wiped off my brush a little bit because I didn't want to add all that product to my crease. And I'm back just blending the shade back and forth all the way through the crease. Now I'm diffusing that top edge with this brush right here, which is not meant for eyeshadow, I don't think. This is Rephr's number 32 brush, which is going to be part of their holiday collection. And I wanted a brush that was pretty dense in order to blend out that upper edge because I thought it was getting a little bit out of hand. It was too dark. Back with my Rephr number 15 now. Rose Nocturne, which is the name of the shade I'm using, definitely packs a punch. But I don't know that I love the shade. This quad also has two shades that look really similar to one another, and they are pretty similar to the two similar shades from this quad. I'm going to swatch them all side by side afterwards so that we can kind of compare, but they're all like gold bronzy shades. Okay, with the Rephr number 28, I'm going to grab this color first, and I think I'm going to apply the shadows the same way I did for this look here. So the lighter gold on the inner corner, this shimmer shade right here, which is the one that's a little bit more different, is going to go right in the center. I feel like this shade is the most unique from the shades that came in these quads. It's like a burgundy blue duochrome, which I've never seen before and I quite like. And then I'm going to do the bronzy shade right here on the outer third of my eyelid. And with a clean Rephr number 1, I'm just going to make sure that these colors mix into my crease shade here. Back with the Rephr number 1 in this color, and I'm going to swipe it back and forth all underneath my eye. And back with the lighter gold, I'm going to enhance my inner corner here. It's always disappointing when my top favorite brands that I get so hyped up for don't perform at the level that I'm used to. And I feel like that is what happened with these quads. Bronze Borealis is super powdery. The matte shade in it, which is actually a burgundy shade, which I love, was super powdery, which again I've never seen in Pat McGrath eyeshadows before. Then the shimmer golds all kind of look like each other, and the shimmer rose tone I feel like we've seen a lot from Mother Pat, plus the fact that just visually the pants look smaller kind of bothered me. I like it, but I'm not obsessed with it, and I feel like she has other quads in her collection that I personally love a lot more and I recommend a lot more. And then moving on to Deep Space Divinity over here, I hate the matte shade. It's very pigmented. It blended out nicely, but it makes me look like I've been punched in the eye. And people sometimes leave me that comment on like eyeshadows that I like, and I'm like, how can you possibly look like you got punched in the eye? Don't be ridiculous, right? No, I look like I was punched in the eye. It is just not a flattering shade of like burgundy purple. I feel like if my eye bruised, this is what it would look like right here. I just really do not like the matte shade on this one. The gold shades are okay, but they feel like pretty similar to the gold shades in the other quad. And then the only color that I did like from this one is the duochrome purple blue right there. That was actually interesting, but I don't find it flattering combined with this shade, which by the way, look, it swatches really pretty, but it blends out to this pinky red tone with like a purple undertone or something that on my skin I just don't see it working. Before I finish up my makeup and come back to give you my final thoughts, let's go ahead and try this $60 highlighter here. I have my Wayne number 3 brush, and I'm just going to grab some of the products and let's try it. Oh, ooh. Okay, hold on, I really like that, but I grabbed too much product. Let me just blend that out. It's totally enhancing my texture a little bit, but I think I just put too much on because I was not expecting it to be as glowy as it is. I'm kind of blending it in a little bit with a sponge. Okay, I can totally get behind this highlighter. It is gorgeous, and I don't think it's making my face look darker from the side. Let me make myself even here. Our $60 highlighter is on, and I actually do really like it. It's very glowy, which I was not expecting it to be like that much of a punch of pigment right away, but it looks really good and it does suit me, so those are all great points. I cannot take myself seriously with this eye look right here. I really don't like it, but I'm going to keep it for the rest of this video. Let me go ahead and finish up my makeup and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back with mascara, lashes on, and I also went ahead and applied a lip liner and a lipstick. And these right here are both final looks plus the highlighter and the blushes on. I feel like with the mascara and the lash, I'm a little bit more accepting of this eye, but it's still not my favorite thing in the world. Let me show you the swatches of all of the gold bronzy shades next to each other. This is what all 4 of them next to each other look like right here. And as you can see, each palette had a light gold and a bronzy gold, and they look a little repetitive, you know? Let me go ahead and do some swatch comparisons between these two, which again, they don't look as close as they did when I saw them online, but just in case anybody's interested. Okay, here's the comparison of those 2 quads right here. Given everything I've told you about this year's Deep Space Divinity quad, you probably already know I much prefer last year's quad, which is swatched at the bottom. Here is Bronze Borealis next to the Venus in Flare Voyeuristic Vixen quad, which I think this one may be the one that looks the most like this new one, but this is like a much better version of it for sure. Voyeuristic Vixen is my all-time favorite Pat McGrath quad, and I much prefer it to the new Bronze Borealis quad. The other one that looks remotely similar is this one here, which is the Iconic Illumination quad, and I also much prefer this one to the new one. I'm going to leave you links below to the quads that I suggest instead of the new ones, because as you probably can tell, I'm a little bit underwhelmed by the new quads. Okay, so let me go ahead and give you my final thoughts on everything that I tried today. Let's start by the worst thing. To me, the worst thing, and maybe it was a letdown because I had really high expectations, were the eyeshadow quads. Starting with this little guy right here, the Deep Space Divinity quad. Again, it's a shame because I really love the duochrome blue shade that I have in the center of my eyelid, but I really disliked the matte burgundy shade. There's something about the undertone of it that I just don't think it suits my skin that well. Maybe on a deeper skin tone this quad would be amazing, but it gave me a little bit of like I got punched in the face kind of vibes, and nobody wants that. And particularly when I compared it to last year's quad that had similar-ish vibes, which is this one here, I much prefer this one. So if you were thinking of which one to go with, definitely pick up the Interstellar Icon from last year, because in my opinion it is a much better quad. Then we have this one here, which is the Bronze Borealis quad, which I found to be very powdery, and I'm not used to powdery shadows from Pat McGrath. Pat McGrath shadows usually feel more on the creamy side. Besides that, I feel like these are colors that I personally have repeated in my Pat McGrath collection a ton of times. I didn't like that both of the gold shades were super close to one another, and so this is the eye look that I came up with right here. I don't think you're going to get a ton of variety from this quad, and again, if you're thinking about this one versus another quad from Pat McGrath, I much prefer the Voyeuristic Vixen quad that came out around the springtime with the blushes. This quad is amazing. It is my #1 favorite quad from Pat McGrath, and I much prefer it to this one, and they somewhat have similar-ish vibes. The other one's just 10 times better in my opinion. When it comes to the highlighter, I absolutely loved the packaging. I love the embossing. It feels extremely luxe. You get a ton of product in there, and you need very, very little of it because it shines like crazy with barely any product. It is $60, which is a pretty penny, but if you're a Pat McGrath stan and it fits your budget, I would definitely go for it, because I think this is the best highlighter I've ever tried from Pat McGrath. I like it better than the other ones I've tried, including the one that comes in the Cheek Trio, which is still a really good highlighter, but it doesn't have this level of intensity as far as the shine is concerned. And that takes us to my favorite thing from this review and my favorite thing I tried today, and that is the Cheek Trio here. And I really like this one because it is a really good price for what you get in it. You get 2 Pat McGrath blushes, which I find incredible. I love Pat McGrath blushes, and I know that since they came out, a lot of you have been holding out and buying the blushes to wait for some sort of sale or whatnot. I think this is a really good way to try the Pat McGrath blushes in a little cheek palette. Plus you also get the highlighter in there. I do like both of the colors that came in the pan, and I like them better combined. I combined them just because I wanted to have my cheeks look somewhat similar to one another, but I do think that I like the blushes combined better than I like them separately. So if you get this little cheek palette, definitely try combining your blushes, because you're going to be surprised at the pretty shade that you get with them both. So the blush palette, highly recommended. The luxuriously priced highlighter, get it if it's within your budget, because it is extremely shiny and I do think that you're going to like it. And the quads, if you already have any of the quads I mentioned in the video, you don't need these quads. And if you're thinking these versus those, definitely get those. Again, I will have all of the quads that I like better linked down below in the description box of this video. I truly hope that you guys liked this review. I feel like this was a long time coming because it took so long for me to receive my products. And yeah, if you liked the video, don't forget to please give it a thumbs up. If you're going to shop for anything, please use my links below. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you back in the next video. Bye!